I'm here today with Toni Shiloh. Toni's a wife, mom, and multi-published Christian contemporary romance author. She writes to bring him glory and to learn more about his goodness. Her novel, Grace Restored, was a 2019 Holt Medallion finalist, and Risking Love is a 2020 Sella Award finalist. A member of the American Christian Fiction Writers and of the Virginia chapter, Toni seeks to help readers find authors. She loves connecting with readers and authors alike via social media. And she's also been a speaker at one of our publishing and color conferences. So we always appreciate that and are glad to have some of our alums back with us. So her new book is titled In Search of a Prince, and it releases on February 1st from Bethany House Publishers. You can learn more about Toni and her writing at tonishiloh.com. That's TONISHILOH.com. So Toni, welcome, and congratulations on the new book.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Appreciate that.
So I kind of barely touched on your, background and your writing. You've done so much. So can you tell folks more about, your background as well as all the different books that you published?
Sure. I'd love to. I've been writing since about 2014. After getting my degree, well, I guess I should go further back. I joined the military straight out of high school. And then once I got out, I did the what do I want to be when I grow up kind of thing and changed majors lots of times until I landed in the English literature major and fell in love with reading literature, being able to get a degree to read books. And when I took my creative writing classes, I fell in love with writing and decided that's what I wanted to do. But it wasn't until 2014 that I decided, well, maybe I should actually finish a book. From there, I started a self-publishing journey, and then I ended up becoming hybrid with traditional publishing. And so I do both. But for maybe since last year, I've kind of mainly focused on traditional publishing contracts. And I write Christian contemporary romances, always featuring African Americans as at least one of the main characters, just in hopes to bring more diversity to the genre and also to show people that there are authors of color writing these stories.
Very cool. Very cool. So since 2014, was that the year your first book came out?
No, that's when I started writing. My first book came out in 2015.
2015. And so how many have you had since then? Because there's quite a few, I think, right?
Yeah, I think I'm at 24. I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's more than I thought. I knew there was quite a few, but that's impressive. I mean, that many books over that period of time was just great.
Yeah, I'm a stay-at-home mom. So once the kids are at school, I'm pretty much free all day to write.
Still, I mean, writing a book is a big effort. That's a pretty productivity, accomplishment there. So I mentioned that the new one, is titled In Search of a Prince and releases February 1st. What motivated you to write that one?
Probably seeing Prince Harry and Meghan Markle get married.
Interesting.
Really a great day, and I think a lot of people in the Black community were celebrating. But it also made me think, like, have we ever had a Black princess story, especially in the Christian fiction genre? So I kind of just started thinking, like, what would that look like? How would that be possible? And my imagination took over from there.
Wow, very cool. So without giving away too many details, I mean, can you kind of give us a summary of the book?
Sure. So my character, Brielle Adebayo, she's an 8th grade civics teacher, and then her mom kind of drops the bombshell on her that she's actually an African princess and that her father, the king, is dying and needs her to step into the role as his successor. So she goes to the fictional country of Aloro Ile and basically decides if she wants to go ahead and succeed him or if she's going to abdicate the throne. So it's kind of like the Princess Diaries with maybe like a coming to America twist, but obviously she goes to Africa and not coming to America.
Yeah, so this is interesting in its multicultural aspect of it. Can you talk a little bit about what the different, cultural elements are and what kind of research that you did associated with those?
Sure. So I went ahead and I made the country fictional just because I thought it would help me with creative license, being able to change certain things that I wanted to for the purpose of the story, but also because I didn't want to offend the actual culture I mimicked the story off of, because it was the pandemic when I started writing the story. It's not like I could travel to Africa or, see how it really was in person. Um, I decided to mirror the culture after the Yoruba culture in Nigeria.
Hmm.
And so I talked to some Nigerians about the culture and then what would look like if I either kept some of the culture aspects or tweaked it. Like I still wanted it to feel authentic and be realistic. But I also was very aware it's a fictional story. So I hope that people would kind of like give me leeway. Um, a lot of the language used in the book is Yoruban. I just changed the name of it. And I then also looked at the different islands because I said it in the Gulf of Guinea.
Hmm.
I looked at Bioko Island and Sao Tome and Principe to kind of get a feel of how it is to live on an island. And I also had to research like colonization in Africa and how that impacted, present day and the cultures. So like it was a lot. I didn't realize I was going to go in that in depth when I first thought of the idea. I mean, I even looked at how monarchies are run and what types there were, all the things that you could think of.
Wow, wow. Well, it sounds like, the book has got quite a few unique elements to it. I mean, how would you say that it contributes to the overall, inspirational fiction genre?
That's a great question. I feel like a lot of the mainstream stories that you see from the inspirational genre are all Caucasian based. I feel like a lot of the ones written by authors of color are either self-published because they maybe couldn't get a traditional publishing contract, because you often sometimes hear the we don't know how to um, market it. They didn't really know how to tap into the market for people of color. So a lot of times when you go in like a bookstore in the Christian fiction section, you won't see any of those books. They're usually under, the African American or Latinx um, headings
Hmm.
instead of actually in a Christian fiction. So I feel like when I was able to work with Bethany House, letting them know I want it to be in the Christian fiction section, just to bring awareness that we're here. There are books representing the minority groups, and you will still get your inspiration. You'll still get the faith arc that inspirational fiction is known for, but you can also see how a different culture lives.
Well, it's really great that you got that kind of support from Bethany House, and I know that they're really interested in acquiring more writers of color, and growing that segment of their publishing work. So I'm glad that you're kind of a pioneer, so to speak, to help, make the way for others too.
Yes, definitely. It's nerve-wracking and an honor all at the same time.
So what would you say would be your hope that readers would most benefit or gain from your book?
Wow, that's a good question. Um, I think my biggest hope is to see that no matter like where you come from, what you look like, that we all have the same basic wants: to be seen, to be known, to be loved. And then when I throw in my faith on top of that, to know that God sees them, loves them, and knows them, I hope that they'll walk away just feeling uplifted, feeling connection with the greater body of Christ and the world as well.
So, as you know, a lot of our audience are aspiring writers, relatively early stage. What advice would you have for them, for somebody that's just getting started and would like to break through like you have?
Don't give up. That would be my biggest advice. It's hard, especially when you get rejections or you feel like no one understands your work or sees a place for it. Definitely keep pressing forward. Keep reading, keep networking and connecting with other people, and just don't give up until you get your breakthrough moment.
And even, just in the period of time since you released your first books until now, the market has changed, the industry's changed, the degree of marketing, that's required has just continued to increase. What do you see as kind of the current biggest challenges for introducing new books?
I guess probably feeling like you're not getting lost in the mix of everyone. The writing community is small and big all at the same time. I've met so many other writers since I've started my journey, and I feel like I know a lot of them. And at the same time, I'm aware like there's still a lot more authors than I'll ever meet. I mean, you can look on Amazon and see just like a huge list of people who write. And so sometimes knowing that feels overwhelming and it feels like you'll get lost. But what I found from connecting with readers is that there are people who read a lot, read often, and are always looking for new authors to keep up with their reading speed. So you'll gain an audience regardless of how big the writing pool looks to you.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. There's like a niche for everyone, I think,
Yeah, exactly.
at one level. So can you tell us a little bit about your writing process? What does that look like?
Sure. I'm a pantser, so I don't plot at all. What I do is I develop my characters first. I figure out, what their story is, their backstory, any wounds they carry, what they look like, what their occupation is, their strengths and weakness. I even gain ideas of, what kind of torture I want to put them in to make them go stronger throughout the story. I'll even do a visual board on Pinterest just because I like having the visual aspect when I'm writing, knowing what they look like or what the setting is. And then I let the characters really tell me their story. I know usually how I want it to start, and that's about it. I know the ending will be happily ever after, but how they get there is a huge mystery, and it's part of why I enjoy writing so much. I like the surprise aspect of it.
That's very cool. It's a fascinating process. Now, let's talk about your marketing process too. What are the priorities that you typically place from a marketing perspective when you're launching a new book?
That's a great question. I think it's a mixture of old and new. I like to go where I know I've had success in the past. And then I also look for ways I can do new things. Like you said earlier, it's always changing. The market always changes. What's required of us changes. And even like the popular social media platforms, that changes. So you have to be willing to try something new. Um, this go around, I tried Reels on Instagram just to see if I could gain a bigger audience using those. But that's been fun. I've done the hashtag Secret Princess Challenge where I'll say, you might be a secret princess if, and then I'll do a little snippet of what could possibly make you a secret princess. I think the first one I did was if you own a tiara. So that was fun. You'd be surprised how many people own their own tiaras. So
That's great. That is great.
but yeah, just willing to, mix the old and new.
Very cool. Now, I mean, have you been able to do any in-person events or that's still off the table?
So far I haven't. I've reached out to some places and we'll see if they have online or if it's in person. I don't know. It feels like it just depends on like what the current, news report is on whether or not people are going to do them.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all thought this would be over by now, and things be back to quote unquote normal, but clearly not quite the case yet.
Yeah, it's so funny because when I first saw you, I almost started to say, "Hey, you don't have a mask on," and I'm like, "Wait, we're virtual." Just get so used to not seeing people's faces.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, since you do have such a high productivity rate, is there anything next that you're able to talk about, or is it still too early?
No, I'm working on a few things. My next Bethany House book will release in September. Uh,
Wow.
and I'm hoping to do a cover reveal for that sometime in February. And then I'm currently working on my next Love Inspired book. It's going to be published by Harlequin.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, again, the name of the new book is In Search of a Prince. It releases February 1st from Bethany House. And Toni, congratulations on that and all your wonderful work. I'm so happy for you. So glad that you're doing so much.
Thank you so much.
And again, you can learn more about Toni, all of her books, and the new book, of course, at tonishiloh.com. So Toni, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.